So, good morning or good night, depending on where you are in the world. And welcome to a brand new episode of Is It That Bad? Where we take a look at an album that maybe got mixed reviews. And for this one, we're doing an album by my Dying Bride that actually Greg from Drifting to Black recommended that we do. And this is the album that we're going to talk about. It's My Dying Bride. Uh, 30 wait, let me read the title. Yeah,
Mhm.
34.788% complete. And this is the album cover. Yeah, it came out in 1998. And yeah, so Greg, first of all, my panel today is Greg from Drifting to Black. Greg, how are you?
Very good. How's it going? How's everybody? Good?
Good. And we
All
have for
right.
second time on the on the series, Rick. He's in Ricking Aura. He's in a few other bands, but Ricking Aura put on an EP recently. So, Rick, how are you, man?
Good. Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. And Craig Rossi, what are you chewing on over there? What are you
Um,
munching on?
this show is brought to you in sponsor
Oh,
of Duke's Sausages, hot and
ugh,
spicy sausages.
oh,
Yeah,
that's good.
tomorrow my
No
shit is
carbs.
gonna smell like dead bodies.
Oh, Jesus.
So,
Staying away. Yeah.
and rounding out the panel, we have obviously JC Rock and Metal Reviews. JC, how are you?
Hi. Yeah, do good. Thanks.
Yeah, awesome. So, Greg, I want to ask
Yeah.
you when you recommended this album to me, I didn't listen to it. What made you pick this album for the series?
Well, because my Dying Bride fans, this is an album that basically followed up one of my Dying Bride's best albums, Like Gods of the Sun, and it was kind of like a total like 360 or 180, whatever you want to call it, 180, right?
Yeah, because Rick
From
back to the same.
yeah. 180 compared to what the previous album was like, and it was like, what happened? What were these guys thinking? Who greenlit this album? You know, it was just a drop off compared to their previous efforts, and and it just, I don't know, it was just a contrast, stark contrast to compared to their previous efforts, and you could tell because right after they put out light at the end of end of the world, and that album was kind of like a bounce back to their previous sound, which, you know, so you could tell this was like an exit, you know, just a drop off compared to their normal sound.
Yeah, and it's interesting because the last time the four of us were together was to discuss a Paradise Lost album that had also a very shifting sound. But I remember me and JC enjoyed that album because it sounded like Depeche Mode. Uh,
Mm.
so yeah, so
So
people,
that means the next time we get together, we have to do an Anathema album to finish off the big the Peaceful Big Three
Mm.
of doom metal bands.
oh,
That would be interesting.
that would be a good one. We have to see which album because I love a lot of their albums. So yeah, so we have the three rounds. So in the first round, we give our initial thoughts of the album when we first listen to it. Then the second round, we pick the three songs that we maybe think are the weakest. And the third and final round, we give our final thoughts and vote thumbs up, thumbs sideways, or thumbs down. So we're gonna do Greg, then Rick, then JC, then me. So Greg, you kind of started your initial thoughts, but what were your initial thoughts, or maybe re-listening to this album so many years later?
Um, there are some good songs on this album, and there are some songs that have some bad parts, in my opinion. Um, uh, but this album, I mean, it has probably the worst song I've ever heard in my entire life. Literally, the worst song I've ever heard in my entire life on this album, and
Second round.
yeah. So So what do you want to know? My first song that I don't like on this album, or just
No,
the
no, your
three?
initial thoughts when you first
I mean, my initial thoughts is basically, I mean, it doesn't have the patented "My Dying Bride" sound. I think Martin Powell was the violinist prior, and this was his first album, the first album without Martin in the band. So number one, there you go. Lack of violin, right? Lack of um, that those slow doom riffs that featured the violin as well. There was some songs that had just different kind of sound that just didn't fit like what they were doing prior, you know. So it sounds like they were just trying something different, in my opinion, and it just for me it didn't work.
Okay. What about you, Rick?
How you doing? So let me paint a little picture here. So 1998, October 98, the Yankees were about to win their first World Series in 3 in a row, and My Dying Bride was my favorite band in the world at that time. So when this album came out, and I have it right here, of course. It I there had been build up to it in the press, in the metal zines, because internet in October of 98 was still pretty in its infancy. I of course had internet in 1992, so I was ahead of the game. That's how I got into a lot of bands that I got into. But you found your information in zines back then and stuff. So this album, they were talking, and yeah, Martin Powell left the band, and one of the great drummers of doom metal, Rick Maya, who was the original My Dying Bride drummer, also left the band for this album. So he was not on this, and it was their first lineup change, really. But to harken back, so yeah, they were my favorite band when this album came out, and it reminded me of my favorite band in 1991 was Metallica when I was a little kid, and they put out the Black Album. So this was kind of like it was kind of like deja vu. My favorite band putting out a controversial record, and so when I got it, I remember exactly when I got it, and it was a big shock to me. At first, I was 22 years old, so I'm not as developed, in my musical tastes at the time. So I probably wrote it off immediately, even though I loved that first song. Um, at the time, I really connected with that song too, as well. So and then I wrote off the rest of the record, and I had listened to it maybe once or twice over the years, and recently when this idea came up, I revisited it, obviously, and yeah, here we are. But yeah, it was a shock to me at the time as a kid, a 22-year-old. You're still a kid at 22, really, but and I guess I wasn't really prepared for it, but a lot of bands in 1998 were doing different things. A lot of metal bands, if you look back around that time, they were changing their styles around and stuff. But I guess to me, it was sacrilege because they were my favorite band, and I didn't want anything except The Angel in the Dark River or Turn Loose the Swans. Because you think about it, they had 3 albums in a row: Turn Loose the Swans, The Angel in the Dark River, and Like Gods of the Sun. That's a 3-album run that most bands don't do in a row of quality. And then they followed up with this album. So at the time, it was a gut punch to me. But again, I'm a little boy. I don't know what I'm talking about at the time, and maybe I'm not really.
You're still a little boy.
I'm still a little boy at heart. But yeah, that's where we are.
Okay. Yeah, interesting. Maybe that's why, because so many people were out of the band that ready for something complete because the band wasn't complete. I don't know.
No, the actual for what I remember is the guitar player Calvin wrote most of this record on his own. I believe I could be speaking out of school, but I think that's the case. and he had a dream that the world was, that the human race was 34.788% complete. So we depleted that much of our existence in
Yeah.
his dream.
I thought that maybe he saw The Matrix, but The Matrix came out in 1999.
I mean,
Right. There was
when
a
I
couple
first
of
listened-
things. There's a couple of things in this album that I think were a little ahead of the game, and we'll get to that.
I mean, in 1998, when I first heard this album, I basically got through 34.788% of it, and I shut it off. Couldn't take anymore.
Tell you that, I never listened to this album until I said to this album to me. So, JC, your initial thoughts on this one?
Okay, I'm kind of new to the band. I like their last album. I've listened to them off and on over the years, but I'm not somebody who has listened to all their albums, and I don't know the band. So first of all, I've never even heard of this album, so I just decided to listen to it. I listened to it for the first time, I think it was last Tuesday, and at first I thought it was weird and I didn't like it, but there was something about it. I thought, I'm going to have to maybe give this one another chance. Maybe I'll just give it a couple more listens throughout the week. Maybe it'll grow on me. Because usually when we do these Is It That Bad episodes, like if we're doing something like Vanilla Ice, I'm going to listen to it once and like never again. But for this album, there's something about it. I think it requires like multiple listens, and maybe I'll get something out of it. But we'll see if I do or not at the end. But I think it's just that weird '90s, late '90s when every band is like just doing something different, and I think that because every band, even that last video we did, that Paradise Lost, that must have came out around the same year, right?
Yeah, I think that was 98. Wasn't that 98 or 99?
Right?
That might have been
97, I think.
99.
Something like that,
No,
right?
97 was
Yeah.
1 second.
So it's like that late '90s when every band is like, hey, let's do something different. So yeah, that's my first impression. I'll elaborate more in the next rounds, but yeah, I actually listened to it, I think 3 times in full. I wanted to just get that full experience. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's funny that we mentioned 1998 because not only metal, like even I remember the Smashing Pumpkins put out a door that was different, like electronic stuff. So maybe there was something in 1998 that every band wanted to do more electronic stuff. I actually like electronic music, but when I first listened to this record, like JC, I thought it was fucking weird. Yeah, yeah, I thought it was weird, but I thought like, yeah, this is a record I have to listen to more than once to get maybe the nuances. And I thought like because all I knew from them because I've listened that they're more like doomy. This sounded more like industrial doom. Like they were trying to be industrial. I like industrial bands. I love Nine Inch Nails, but this doesn't sound like Nine Inch Nails. And with the Paradise Lost, I actually loved it because it sounded like Depeche Mode, and it had some good songs to it. Only that,
Yeah.
but this album, uh, it's kind of disjointed. There's one song that I'm sure everyone's going to pick that song. I'm pretty sure. And yeah, I listened to it more times because yeah, but it's a weird, different album, and I gotta say maybe it's good that the band wanted to take like a chance and a risk, but like you said, they had like 3 amazing albums in a row, and then that. And Rick, you mentioned the Metallica Black Album, but I'm sorry, that album still sounds fucking awesome today.
Oh, it
And
sounds amazing. Don't get me wrong.
this doesn't sound anything like the Black Album.
No, I don't mean in sound wise. I meant in impact to me and my fandom. When I was a kid, when the Black Album came out, that's not what I wanted to hear from Metallica. So that was, to me, that was the ultimate that was the ultimate betrayal as a 15-year-old. But sound wise, the Black Album sounds amazing. That's a great sonically
But
produced album. I'm just not a fan of, maybe now there's always been a couple of songs that I liked. I like Load and I like Reload, so it's not like I hate that kind of 90s Metallica, but it just at the time that rubbed me the wrong way. But is
like
what it
Dying
is.
that thing that they just changed to drastic. So yeah, so let's go to the second round where we're gonna pick three songs. Greg, what songs did you pick and why?
Should we go from worst to best or best to worst?
Whatever you like. I usually, I don't know. I think go worst this time to least worst.
All right. The worst song on the album is Heroin Chick, in my opinion. That song, to me, the lyrics, just the music, it wasn't My Dying Bride. And it's nothing I would actually ever listen to anyway. I just didn't get it. It just, the weird flanger and the electronic drums. And it's just, the lyrics are just fucking stupid. I just I didn't really, it's not My Dying Bride to me, and that's not what I was expecting, and I still hate that song till this day, and it's the worst song I've ever heard in my entire life. The second song I hate is
Are we do one at a time or what?
No, we always do. He does his three and then you go.
Gotcha.
So my second song that I hate is track 3, Der Abelend, whatever that song is. It just has like weird changes that it just, I don't know what Calvin was thinking when he was writing this album. It's like some verses did not match with the next parts. Like it just, I don't know. It's just the songwriting just to me was off. And the same thing with track 2. So, like there's some weird like synth change that really does not go with the first riff, and the lyrics I didn't like either. It just, I don't know. It just didn't. It wasn't My Dying Bride to me. Like it just, like those 3 songs in particular. Like
What's the name of the second song?
The Stance of Evander Cinque, whatever. Yeah. The first riff was decent, and then it goes into this weird, synth thing, and he's moaning, and it's like, what? I mean, are we listening to him jerk off? Like, I don't get it. Like, no, it's just weird. And the mixing is weird. Like, just the production was weird to me. I don't know. Just didn't. Those 3 songs in particular. But Heroin Chick, I hate.
Good. What about you, Rick? What 3 songs did you pick and why?
Well, 4, 5, 6. What is there? 7 songs on this album. So
7.
that would mean I would have to not like 3 of them. So I've all right. So I guess Heroin Chic is interesting. It's not my least favorite song on the album, I don't think. I became a big Radiohead fan around 1999, and Kid A came out in 2000, and this fucking song sounds like a mix between Kid A, Radiohead, and Trip Hop, and like Portishead, who I also like now and have liked since the early 2000s, but I didn't like that stuff when this record came out. About a year or 2 later, I started getting into that stuff. And when I heard this song, the lyrics, I mean, I remember reading when I was talking about in the zines, I remember reading there was going to be a song where the vocalist Aaron improvised the lyrics while it's being recorded. So I assume that's the song. So I just assume, I mean, I don't know. I didn't follow up on that if that was the actual song, but in the anticipation of the album's release, they were like, oh, he's going to do a song on the spot lyrically. So I assume that was the song. And and that could be why, because the guy is known for his good lyric writing. So if he's freestyling, that's another experiment and an experimental song. So that's how I look at that song, as an experimental song. And if you just mute the vocals, which I guess if that's not your cup of tea, it's a trip hop song. And it's not, it's not a My Dying Bride do metal song, but I have on our Gray Skies Fallen records, there's songs that are clean instrumental and not sound like us. So man, that's kind of long-winded, but I like that song. So I mean,
I'm
the stance,
shocked.
yeah. What's that?
You're
Shocked that
supposed
you like that song.
there's a song you don't like, but you like it.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I mean, again, you could tune out the na 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 yeah yeah yeahs if you can. And like I was driving last night to practice a disastrous fucking practice, which is gonna haunt me. That practice, what happened last night. But that's for a different story. That's for a different day. One day maybe that shit will come out. But I was driving listening to that record in my Honda CRV with the fucking 9 speaker system very loudly. And yeah, the song was just, it just had a sick vibe in a trippy way, and the lyrics, come on. I'm not gonna shit on it. If it was an experiment, I mean, look, I wouldn't do it, but that's how it turned out. But so I guess that one, which I mean, I don't mind the song. I guess
That song, or I'm very confused, man.
well, like I said, go listen to some Portishead and Kid A. You could hear the keyboard.
Portishead and
I'm sure you're familiar with this stuff, but that's what it reminded me of.
sound like them.
Well, listen to the keyboards and the keyboard effects and the things like that wound up on Kid A and Amnesiac and stuff. The same similar sounds, and beats and the production mixed in lo-fi is a trip hop kind of signature thing. There was a band called Hooverphonic that was, I don't know if they ever became known or anything, but they had a cool sound like that song, and it just kind of reminded me of that stuff, which, like I said, I got into later. The next song is excuse me, it's another song I like, The Stance of Evander Cinque.
I thought this was 3 songs that we didn't like.
Yeah, but there's 7 songs in the album, and unfortunately, fortunately, I like all the songs.
Oh, okay, all right.
So I mean, I'm like, I could put my least favorite, which is what I'm doing right now.
All right, go ahead.
I mean, what am I? So there's that song, which yeah, the groaning and moaning part is a little off-putting, but there's good shit in that song. Hold on. Oh Jesus! Alexa just said, "Here's a song about moaning," and it started playing a song in the other room. Alexa, stop! Oh, Jesus Christ! Sorry about that. Here's a song about moaning. I don't know. That's really weird, man. Yeah, shit. That threw me for a loop. Yeah, so he's not Robert Plant. You know what I mean? Like Robert Plant in Whole Lot of Love, kind of moan. You know what I'm saying? But that song has good stuff in it. Man, the first song, The Whore, the Cook, the Mother. I love that song. The middle instrumental is awesome, trippy, awesome. Just laying in bed reading a book or something. That part comes on, and it's nice. Maybe Apocalypse Woman, I guess, would be my third that I choose.
Okay.
Because Base Level Erotica, which I think is a a really good My Dying Bride song.
The
And
vocal line is really good in that song. Which I
yeah,
really like. The
that's
vocal
a
line.
that's a top 10 My Dying Bride song in my top 15, in my eyes. And then the last song on the album is my favorite song on the album. So those three, I guess, are my least favorite.
Okay. What about you, JC?
Okay. I guess I'm gonna pick the first song, The Whore, the Cook, and the Mother. It's just that it wasn't bad. When I first listened to it, I thought like, I like the opening guitar part, and then they have that synth come in, and it kind of reminds me of like Phantom of the Opera. That's pretty cool, but it goes into the spacey interlude, and it just really takes away from the song, and I felt it kind of like dragged, so I thought maybe they could have cut that down a little bit, because it's just like you just completely get lost in it, and then they bring back the main melody. So it's a 12-minute song, but maybe they could have like cut out a little bit of that middle section. But that's my only comment on that one. I guess the next one would be the stance of Evander Cinque. It's okay, but they use like a lot of weird like harmonics. I think they might have been going for like this groove sound or something like that. There's different like orchestration, and I thought it was kind of weird. It was just like a lot of those like weird keyboards. So I think that one just didn't really like it. And there's something about the '90s when all these bands like to have all these like little different like sound bites of different like news stories, or I don't know what they were, but like they would always like put them in their songs. So they had like a lot of that. So that's my second pick. And my third one is going to be Heroin Chic. That's the one probably everyone's going to pick. But it's just that it's just very weird. It sounds like an electronic drums, and the vocals. It just sounds like people are just like rambling like nonsense into like the microphone. It just it just like doesn't really sound like a normal song. It's like mostly electronic. You don't hear any guitars at all. There's like a little bit of bass guitar, and it was just very weird. I thought that was just especially like the vocals. It was just kind of like one of those weird like improv songs. They were just very out there. So that's it. Those are my three for now. Yeah.
Nice. Good ones. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that leaves me. The worst song on this record, the first pick for me is Heroin Chic. I feel I need to be strung up on heroin to enjoy track. And there's a part where he's throwing Chic. I swear to you, it sounds like he's getting blown by Heroin Chic. Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Now that you mentioned that they recorded this live, and like he improvised the lyrics, like man, there's some bad improvisation. I hope he was error because it's just an bad song. Like that song should have never been recorded. And I know Rick, you said that you a key day and Portishead, but I'm sorry.
just the synthesizer
Portishead
sounds, not the song itself.
this shit like into the world, and but I can tell, like, if you tune out the whole lyrics and it's just the music and you had better vocals, maybe, but even the music to me is off-putting. I don't know, it sounds weird and out of place. I picked also The Whore, the Cook, and the Mother. It's too fucking long. And that riff in the middle is boring as fuck and it doesn't go anywhere. And then they go back into the same riff and it's the first 12 minutes. And I'm sorry, I was bored out of my mind with that track because it kept so repetitive, the same riff. And I know Doom can be like the same riff over and over again. The second is, what's the name of the song where he's moaning? Alexa, what's the moaning song?
That's the stance of Evander Cinque.
Oh,
Right? That's the one.
that song to me. Alexa, shut up. Song here, Alexa. But it wasn't that. What's the name of the moaning song?
That's the one.
Evander Cinque.
Yeah, the stance of Evander Cinque.
Cinque. the vocals, like where he's moaning, like you said, he sounded like he was jerking off, or maybe the heroin girl was finishing him up. I don't know. Like, Rick, did that took you back into the golf club days?
Well, I mean, there was one time in the goth club, but in the stairwell. That was a
already
fun.
part of that story.
Yeah, it was with a fellow.
A fellow.
No, to say it was with one of your fellow, island, Puerto Rico ladies.
Are you sure it wasn't transgender mice?
This was about 2001, so I don't know if that was that as prevalent back then.
There were no transgender. There were genic mice.
All right, I see. Yeah.
But I haven't seen a rat with a dress.
That would, I mean, if you want to make some money, you could probably put a touring rat in a dress, put him around the country like 1902 or something.
That heroin chic song would do it. And so those are my free picks. So now we're going to the third and final round, where we give our final thoughts and we vote thumbs up, thumbs sideways, or thumbs down. So, Greg, your final thoughts and vote.
All right. Well, my final thoughts are, listen, it has some good. So I mean, it's track 7, Under Your Arms, Under Your Wings, and Into Your Arms.
That's a good
Phenomenal song, man. It's like one of my favorite My Dying Bride songs. That's a great song. Base Level Erotica, that's a great song too. And Apocalypse Woman, that's a good song too. I mean, this album is not entirely bad. I mean, for me, it's just not what I expect from My Dying Bride, especially at the time. But as if another band put this album out, like, I would think it's pretty good, other than a couple of clunkers here and there. But I think I'm gonna give it, like, I mean, it grew on me over time. I think I'll give it, a sideways.
Sideways, a good side.
Yeah, because it doesn't. Not all the songs are good, and it's not, to me, and not a good My Dying Bride song, but it's got some good metal tracks on it. So I'm not gonna say it's bad. I'll give it sideways.
Okay, so first votes from sideways. Well, what about you, Rick?
I've been converted. I've been like dipped into the river and baptized. You know what I mean? Thumbs up upon further review on this record from me. It's a lot of my diet. If you listen to the 2 albums, Like Gods of the Sun, followed up by this one, it's a similar guitar tone. So at the time I was like, oh, they're not playing doom metal, but there's a lot of doom metal being played on this album. And it's a lot of their signature stuff that is maybe being overlooked by certain things like heroin chic and other things people may talk about. But for this revisiting, it's a thumbs up.
Okay, so we have a thumb sideways and a thumbs up. What about you, JC?
Okay, I think if I had just gone on my first listen, I'd probably go down. But like I said before, it's kind of a grower. You have to give it a little time, listen to it a couple times, and then some of the songs will start to click. But I don't think it's a perfect album, and maybe after more listens, it might go up. But I think for now, I'm going to go sideways. I think there's something here. I think if you listen to it more often, it could grow on you.
So this album is a grower, not a shower.
It's a grower, yeah.
Yeah. All right. I agree. Totally agree with that one.
Well, but you have to try to grow with it, Rick. And
yeah, I've had 25 years. No, this album is 27 years old now, which is mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Because I remember when the day it came out, and it was a big deal for me, and all that. So it's mind-boggling that's so long ago now. Yeah. I forget why I said that. So I'm a little tipsy right now. Yeah, how you doing?
Sorry, man. I got a call. So
Oh, you went sideways.
yes, I know. Yeah, you were saying that it's a FUMS, that it's a grower, but yeah, Rick, you had
Grower.
time to grow into it. So yeah, my final thoughts. It was my girlfriend calling me, but yeah, I'm like, oh, I'm recording. So yeah, my final thoughts with this one. Yeah, it's an album that you have to. It's a like Rick said, it's a grower. There's some Heroin Chic is atrocious song. I think if that you took away from that song, I would probably be more into giving a thumbs up. But I think there's some songs here and there like they could have cut a little bit, trim songs, and it would be better low. But having said that, I don't think it's not great, but it's not atrocious. So thumbs sideways. So
Oh,
yeah, 3 thumbs sideways, 1 thumbs up. That means this album is actually saved. It's
yeah.
actually not that bad. So yeah, we want to
Nice.
know from you, Coucher, what do you think of my Dying Bride 34.788 complete? And comment what rate would you give it? So I want to thank my panel. So first of all, Greg. So Greg, you are recording a new Drift into Black album, right?
Yes, I am. Yes. So I got almost a quarter way through. So hopefully in a couple months it'll be finished.
Okay, awesome. And yeah, so that's awesome to hear. And obviously, Rick, you have the new Ricky Aura EP. What else is coming your way?
Yeah, Reeking Aura's new EP, Fires in Deep Frost. It's 3 new songs featuring the new lineup. That just came out. You can get that on Bandcamp. You could stream it everywhere. We are recording the new album starting next month, the new full-length Reeking Aura album. So that's going to be out hopefully this fall, I would say. And this album is going to be very ripperonious, very rippery. It's going to be good. And my other band, Gray Skies Fallen, we're starting our Canadian run. It's only 3 dates. We're doing London, Ontario, Montreal, and also in Quebec, starting April 3rd. So
Nice.
yeah, those are going to be fun dates, and it's our first time out of the country, and yeah, so that's what's happening. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. And JC, what's new in JC Rock and Metal reviews?
Okay. Basically, I'm focusing more on the new album reviews. There was a lot of good albums that came out this weekend. It was pretty big, so I have a lot to get to. Everything from the Spirit Box and everything else. Jethro Tull. I cover rock and metal, so I'm going to be doing a lot of album reviews the next few days.
Awesome. So, yeah, coming up for the Is It That Bad series, we're doing our first Is It That Bad in Spanish. So it's going to be called Es Tan Malo. And we're the Mexican band Maná, who just got nominated for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So I put a poll of songs, and we're doing, I think, 2001's Revolución de Amor. Got the most votes, and I'm doing that one. It's gonna be a completely Spanish-speaking panel. It's gonna be Señorita Sabrosura, Lorenzo the Professor, and my friend Eggy, and me. So that's gonna be coming up next for
Nice.
Is It That the first one in Spanish. So it should
Well,
be interesting.
that sounds really good, Ben. And for the future, yo no toco la guitarra en la cocina. So I'm also, you know what I'm saying. I'm available for any kind of Spanish speaking. Yes, that's right.
Yeah, I don't see you
Episodes.
right now, but yeah. So yeah, so that's what's coming up next. So Couchers, let us know what you think of my Dying Bride and this record. And yeah, like we'll have to do like you said an Anathema album, so people vote what Anathema album maybe was considered not that great, so we can cover it sometime in the future. So until next time, couchers, this is Hector, the shield dude on a couch, and I'll see you all right here on the couch. Thank you and goodbye.